My friend, if you have struggled with yo-yo dieting, I'm here to say that you're not alone. Lots of people struggle with this idea of yo-yo dieting. And I think the main reason for that is because the vast majority of yo-yo diets are not meant for sustainability. And on top of that, they make you hungry, right? I think you've experienced this before. If you've been on any of these programs, keto, Atkins, South Beach, macro counting, calorie counting, point counting, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And these strategies are great up front because they get you to lose a ton of weight. But then when you go into friction, sort of adversity and the real world, and you get exposed to temptation, maybe holidays, friends, family, you fall back hard. And so this video, I want you to really pay attention and stay with me till the end because I believe I have something very sustainable for you. I believe that if you hear what I have to say, this will change the trajectory, not only of your mindset, but of your health. I think that we need a strong foundation, right? I'm reminded of a story. A good friend of mine, when I was 24 years old, I was coming back from playing soccer. I was kind of a lost person. I was out there just trying to figure out a bunch of things. I had passion for nothing. I had basically been groomed to play soccer. And at 24, my career ended and I was left with the idea of like, man, I have passion for nothing. What am I going to do with myself, right? And so I was bouncing all over the place. I had all these ideas of what I wanted to do. And I remember I wanted to move to all these exciting cities, you know, California and Miami. And then I thought about San Francisco and all these places. So I was in Tampa, Florida at the time. And this friend of mine he was a colonel for the US Marines. He was a strategic planner for the Marines. He was a Vietnam Purple Heart guy, you know, just a gritty guy. In Vietnam, he got shot in the mouth. So just a really kind of man's man, right? And he was like a father figure to me. And so I remember going up to him one day and super excited, telling him how I was going to move to Miami. And I was excited because there were so many opportunities there. And he looked at me with that look that we all know, that fatherly look. And he looked at me straight in the eye and he said, JT, he says, I see you as a strong tree with no roots that could just get pushed over by any wind. And I don't know why, that simple little thing he said, I don't know if it was the visual aspect of it, it hit me. It really resonated with me. And I ended up staying in Tampa, and it's one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. We built an amazing community with the gyms. As a byproduct of being in that gym environment, we came up with the Empty Your Bucket nutrition plan almost 23 years ago. And it's just been amazing, right? And I wonder what would have happened had I not listened to this mentor, this person that was talking to me about a foundation. So that's what I'm here to speak with you about, is about creating a strong foundation, creating roots so that you don't have to be pushed around by the winds or the ideas of any guru, coach, or yo-yo diet. I truly believe that the reason yo-yo diets are out there is simply because they provide that quick fix, but they never provide sustainability because they are heavy on dynamics, meaning eat this, don't eat that, right? And even though we give our clients, our members, plenty of direction from that perspective, we don't believe that that's where people struggle. We believe people struggle with their relationship to food, with triggers, temptation, mitigating emotions with food, right? It's really an addiction to food to one extent or the other. Now, I know we always hear of alcohol, drugs, cigarettes in terms of an addiction. Rarely do we hear people talk about food in terms of an addiction. I believe food is probably one of the most addicting mechanisms out there because there are so many emotional anchors tied to food. Friends, family, anytime we take a break, that's what we do. We have food. And so with that comes a lot of strong emotional anchors. And anytime we feel adversity, that's the first thing we reach for. So the first thing we need to understand is that we have a dependency issue, and we all do to one extent or the other. Whether you're skinny or overweight, there's always a dependency issue with food. We have a tendency to use food as a toy, not a tool. So the idea here is, sure, we need to enjoy food, but we need to truly learn how we're gonna make a difference, how we're gonna make this sustainable. I believe that our 3-step process is very systematic and very intentional in the way we put you into abstinence so that you can get away from these dependencies. Reset is one of those things that we approach just like any counselor that's counseling someone that's going through any kind of addiction counseling or therapy. We do the same, but in the realm of food, right? With the realm of nutrition. So the idea is that phase 1 is a very conservative phase where we put you into abstinence from some of these high insulinogenic foods that secrete dopamine. Anything that secretes dopamine makes you highly addicted. So we need to go into a period of abstinence. Then we transition into a phase where we bring some of the foods that we take out initially so that we can do a progressive burst of insulin, control that, and have a coach that walks you through that, monitors what you're doing, holds you accountable, talks you off the edge, because when you go from not having any cravings in phase 1 and then all of a sudden you spike some insulin with slow digesting carbs, a lot of people want to go back to that phase 1. So we want to walk people systematically through phase 1, 2, and phase 3 is that place where we get to practice an 80-20. This is where that famous word intuitive eating or plan that you hear out there really, really works. I don't believe intuitive eating right off the bat can be successful. Intuitive eating says that you can eat whenever you're hungry, right? Do basically whatever makes your body feel good. Well, if your hunger cues are not well trained and you go and do intuitive eating, most likely that's not going to go very well for you. So you have to be trained in phase 1, 2, and 3 so that when you get to phase 3, you can practice an 80-20, you can practice intuitive eating, and that becomes very, very freeing. And I believe that that is incredibly sustainable. As I started off my first couple of seconds here in this video telling you the story about my friend, the Colonel, that gave me that analogy of a strong tree and that I needed strong roots because I was just being pushed all over the place by the winds of decision. My friend, I believe you as well need some strong roots around nutrition, something that is sustainable. And I'm always reminded, and especially this week as I was ending my cardio, I was on my way home and there's this beautiful, beautiful tree outside of my house. And as I was walking, I was looking at that tree and I was thinking of that verse in John chapter 15, verse 5 that says, I am the vine, you are the branches, whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing, right? And I was looking at that vine and I was looking at the branches. You have the vine right in the middle, you have the branches right outside, and the further away those branches get, you notice that they start to get weak the further they get from the vine. So the idea is that we need to get back to that vine, to that structure that is going to feed us, that is going to basically nourish, edify us. And I believe that in this particular analogy, that vine becomes a sustainable plan that systematically has been planned from a physiological standpoint, from a cognitive standpoint, and from an environmental standpoint. When you go at it from these 3 angles, nutrition all of a sudden becomes incredibly sustainable. And that thing that you were plagued with, that yo-yo dieting that was something you thought you were never going to be able to fix, all of a sudden makes a lot of sense. This is what we do inside of the Empty Your Bucket nutrition plan. And I wanted to share this with you because I just feel compelled and I feel for the people that are all over the place. And I know it causes a lot of pain, a lot of frustration, and people that are just yo-yo dieting, they lose a ton of weight, but maybe once they go back into those environments, they regain the weight back rapidly. We want to cut that. We want to nip it in the bud, and we believe that this is the way to do it. So hopefully this has brought some faith back into you. You realize that there is a way to really get away from this particular challenge called yo-yo dieting, and it has a lot to do with creating strong roots so that you can sustain this for a lifetime. My friend, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, I would love to see you in other videos that we create just like this. We love speaking about things that edify the mind, the body, and the spirit. If you enjoyed this video, you're gonna love this video here. My name is JT Tapias with the Empty Your Bucket Nutrition Plan. I'll talk to you guys soon. Ciao, ciao.